Hi, I'm Lori. I'm the owner of High Point Credit Advisors and the creator of Total Credit Academy. Today I wanted to talk to you about my never fail process for dealing with identity theft. Unfortunately, this is such a massive problem in the US right now. If you have not been touched by identity theft, you are probably among the few and the lucky ones. I deal with credit every day, and I think I do a fairly decent job of protecting my own identity, and in fact I have had my identity compromised as well. So I wanted to give you my really 6 steps if you find that you have an unexpected collection or something that is on your credit report that you know came as the result of identity theft. The first thing you need to do is you really need to search your memory. You need to go back in time and make sure that you did not accidentally give your information to somebody to use. Did you co-sign for your cousin to get cell phone service? Did you give someone your permission to co-sign for them on their utilities or on their apartment complex or something like that? If that's the case, unfortunately, it's not going to fall under identity theft. You would be the responsible party when you are a co-signer. So this is situations where your information has actually been stolen. Maybe mail was stolen out of your mailbox, maybe you lost your wallet, or your information was compromised in some other manner. This is really going to apply to you. So once you are certain that this isn't something that you forgot about, this is truly the result of identity theft, you want to take the following steps. The first thing that you need to do is to go ahead and make a police report. Most cities have this available on their website, and so you will go to the website, you will look for the report of crime. So this is going to be your city's police department. You're going to report a crime. Once you start going through that process, typically it will ask you, or it may ask you up front, is this identity theft? And so the reason for doing the crime report is, number one, when we get to the next step, which is to go to the FTC website and eventually to identitytheft.gov, they ask us, have you reported this as a crime, right? So it typically also asks you if you want to press charges. You can check yes or no on that. Sometimes when people know that possibly this resulted from a family member who used their information without their permission or made charges without their permission, sometimes they're hesitant to make the police report. My experience is that nothing actually comes of the police report. It is an important step. It shows that you are serious and that you recognize that this is not something that you gave permission. But unless it is a very high dollar amount, there's not going to be further action taken by the police department. They have lots of other things that they're dealing with. So once you have the police report completed, you are going to go to identitytheft.gov. This is run by the FTC, and you're going to go through their create a report process. So it's going to take you through and ask you a number of questions about the type of theft this was. Was it charges that were made that you didn't give permission? Did they open a credit card? Did they open a utility account or a cell phone service? So it'll be specific. If you are dealing with information on your credit report, I would really recommend that you both include the collection agency as well as the original creditor. So you're going to list 2 separate accounts. One under the collection agency name and one under the creditor name. It is going to ask for account numbers. Sometimes you don't have those. If you've received collection calls or collection letters from the creditor, then you will have an account number for that. If you haven't received that, then just go off of the information that's being given to you on the credit report. I would also scour the credit report for any what I would call rogue addresses. So these are addresses that are places that you definitely did not live. This rogue address is something that could be linked to whoever the perpetrator of this crime, however your identity was compromised. So once you have completed your report, you're going to be given two options. One, and it's a one-shot deal, download the report. Once you download it, obviously you can print it as many times as you need to. The second option, and this is the option that I typically recommend, is to go ahead and create an account on identitytheft.gov. When you create an account, one of the benefits, well, there's two benefits. One is that if you find out later that there is other things that happen, let's say you discovered that somebody had used your information and opened up a cell phone account. This actually happened to one of my friends. She was a friend and a client, and she had somebody who compromised her information and literally went around town and opened up cell phone accounts. They opened a T-Mobile account, they opened a Verizon account. She happened to have AT&T, so obviously they didn't open an AT&T account, and maxed out what they could purchase. Like, it was ridiculous. So I would recommend making an account, and then once you make that account, you can go add additional things to it if you need to without starting a brand new report. You will also have access. So the FTC has made available sample letters plus associated laws. So they've made letters, sample letters that are for the credit bureaus with each of the fraud departments for the credit bureaus, and they also have made a sample letter for the creditor or collection agency as well. I like those letters. I think they're really concise, very well worded. Obviously, you have to edit them a little bit to put your own personal information in there, but you are welcome. It's just kind of an easy process to go through to create those letters for the credit bureaus and for the collection agency and the creditor. So once you have created your police report, you have received your report from identitytheft.gov, and you have created your letters, now you're going to send them, and you're going to send them all on the same day to each of the creditors. So creditor and or collection agency. Let's pretend we're dealing with just one account. So that would be the creditor, the collection agency, and all three credit bureaus that's showing on. So this is one that we did recently for a client. This is to Experian. We have our certified mailing label. We have our return receipt on the back. We have checked that we want a signature confirmation on there, and we are using the PO box that is specific for fraud. When you're sending your letter to the credit bureaus, you want to have your letter, you want to have the identity theft report that you have created, you want to have identification documents for the credit bureau. So they will require typically a copy of your ID, a utility bill dated within the last 30 days that comes in your name to your home address. All the identity documents need to match addresses, right, and names. So don't use any utility bills that have a typo on them or something like that. And I like to include either a copy of a W-2 with the last four of the social, or the actual social. That is for the credit bureaus only. For the creditors, oh, and one last thing. One of the things that the credit bureaus, or that the FTC, the identitytheft.gov, includes, and I like this a lot, is the FCRA 605B. This is a reminder copy of the law, and I am not an attorney, but my understanding of the law, specifically this one, is that it requires, when there is a case of identity theft, that the credit bureaus themselves block the reporting of this account. Okay? And that's why it's important to go this route versus dealing with the collection agencies or the creditors directly, because they will take their sweet, you know what, time to do their investigation. And especially if there's something that is pressing with your credit scores, you need to get this off your credit report as fast as possible. And so it's important that the credit bureaus know so that they can block the reporting of this account. Okay. For the creditor letters, we are going to include our letter. We can use the one off the identitytheft.gov website. I would research online and see if you can find a fraud department address, or if not, you can put attention fraud department. So for example, you would do the collection agency name, attention fraud department, and then the address. You're going to do the same thing. It's going to be certified mail with a return receipt. It is going to have the same format where you are going to include the letter. You are going to include your identitytheft.gov report. You are not going to include your identity documents, but you are going to include the copy of the credit report with the accounts circled. So I don't think there's any reason to send the whole credit report. Just send the pages that are relevant. If there are any rogue addresses on the credit report, send those as well. So you're going to print out the pages that are relevant and attached to this particular fraud. And then on the identitytheft.gov website, they have, for the creditor, they have included the CFPBs, notice to furnishers of information. This is the obligation of the furnishers under the FCRA. So if that term is confusing to you, the furnisher of information is whomever is furnishing information to the credit report. They have an obligation to investigate the fraud and specifically not to resell it or to pretend that, fraud doesn't actually exist or that there's not a claim of fraud. So make sure that when you send your mail, you are using the certified mail with return receipts. This one that we're doing for a client, he will actually get the certified mail receipt in his mailbox, notifying him of the creditors and the collection agencies and the credit bureaus that have received his claim of fraud. And then I would say lastly, you want to make sure that you have a good source to track your credit report for deletion. So for this type of situation, Credit Karma might be a really good option because they update every 3 days. So even though it's only giving you 2 bureaus, it's giving you Equifax and TransUnion, it is allowing you to update that every 3 days. And that way you can see when something has come off, and Credit Karma will track deletions on there. So really important for you to know, especially if you're attempting to go, back to a lender. You want to make sure that it has come off of all 3 bureaus before you ask them to pull credit reports again. So we would send everything out on the same day, make sure that everybody gets that information, and we anticipate that this is going to be a one-shot deal. Never had an issue where it hasn't been a one-shot deal and it hasn't happened really quickly. The only time it becomes messy is when somebody is trying to deal with the collection agency first. If you've gone part of the way down the road dealing with that collection agency, so what typically happens is you call up a collection agency, you say, I have fraud. They I don't want to say they don't believe you, but I'm sure a lot of people claim this isn't my account, right? So they are going to send you to their fraud department, and their fraud department is going to go through its own process. because their fraud department doesn't really care what your credit scores are, and they don't care that this isn't fair to you, they are just going to take their time to go through the process. Unfortunately, what I have found in the past is that sometimes these companies, the minute they get an inkling that this is potentially fraud, they will either send your account back to the creditor. Sometimes that's the arrangement that will happen, and the creditor will then go ahead and reassign it to somebody else. So you may think you have a win, but it's only temporary. It comes off your credit report, and then 6 weeks later it shows back up under a different collection agency name. You realize, oh my gosh, I have to go through this all over again. Okay. Sometimes they will just resell it, bundle it up with a bunch of other things, and resell it to another collection agency just to get it out of their name, not to have to deal with the whole fraud issue and still make some money on their purchase of your bad debt. So unfortunately, I've seen that often enough with collection agencies that I don't think it is a good idea to let them catch wind of the fact that you are claiming fraud. It's better to go this other route where the credit bureaus and the creditors and the collection agency all get notification at the same time. So in this situation that I'm working right now, it's a utility bill. It is on all 3 bureaus. So we are sending a letter to all 3 bureaus. We are sending one to the collection agency, and we are sending one to the utility company. Okay? So anyway, I hope this was super helpful for you. What I would like you to do is, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll try to answer them as fast as possible. One thing I have learned over my time in credit repair is there is just 1,000 ways to skin a cat. So if you have had success doing it a different route, more power to you. But this is what has worked for me every single time without fail. So I hope this was helpful to you, and have an amazing day. God bless.